Hello and welcome to another one of my films. Today I'm going to the island of Iona. If you're thinking, is this wonderful and tranquil? It is. But I like the idea of sort of walking into the village of Fionfort, where we'll take a left and we will get the ferry. Right, so here we go. This is exciting, waited a long time for this. Pilgrims alike. Wow. So, welcome to Iona. I'm just going to give a quick history here of main bits of the island really, but in the 5th and 6th century, Britain was not only invaded by Angles and Saxons from the east, but also Irish people from the west. These were a Celtic-speaking people who were living on agricultural and pastoral farming. Their society was tribal with complex laws, and they were ruled by a dynasty of kings or chieftains. And so successful were the invasions of northern Britain by the Scots of Ulster that they gave their name to the country, Scotland. So at the time of St. Columba, Iona was actually part of Ireland, and Columba himself remained actively involved in Irish politics throughout his life. Now, Iona itself is 3 miles by 1.5 miles wide, and they have found both Bronze and Iron Age remains on the island. Right, so let's go and visit the Abbey. I don't mind saying, by the way, as I was getting off the boat, I was getting a bit emotional there, but I'm glad it's good to feel, isn't it? The wonderful main street. Brilliant. Oh, this is lovely. This is the remains of the Iona nunnery, which was founded in 1200 and flourished for over 350 years. I'm very excited about visiting this place. This is St. Mary's Chapel, roughly dating to about 1100, which is actually the oldest standing structure on Iona. Great sense of solitude in here, actually. Right, so something I've wanted to do for a long time. Let's go and do the tour of Iona Abbey. Right, so the first thing that we're going to go in is the Abbey Church, which was built on the site of Columba's Church in the 1200s. It was actually restored by the Iona Cathedral Trust in the early 1900s after being bequeathed this area by the Duke and Duchess of Argyll. So let's go in and have a look. This still is actually a very active church, and they still regularly do services here. So, a real part of the community. Right, so this for me is the big one, St. Columba's Shrine. So, this chapel was built over where he was actually buried, and it was said there were lights and heavenly angels above where this was. Beautiful little room here. Yeah, there's a real reverence about the place. There's a real sort of awe and mystery. It's fantastic. So St. Columba, born 521, died 597, is traditionally credited with the main role of the conversion of Scotland to Christianity. He came from a very well-connected family in Ireland and was actually ordained in approximately 551. He founded churches and monasteries, including that in Derry. But in about 563, himself and 12 disciples erected a church and a monastery here in Iona. And Iona became a gateway to pushing Christianity into Scotland, particularly among the northern Pictish kingdoms who were pagan. Now, his particular motivation stems to about 560 when he had a quarrel with St. Finian over a religious manuscript. This eventually turned into the Battle of Columba, where allegedly up to 10,000 people were perished. Columba vowed to win for Christ as many that were killed at that battle. He was respected, very tall, a very physical chap, but his manner and his training meant he had the foundations to lead the Christian faith here for many centuries to come. This is possibly St. Columba's well. It dates back, they reckon, possibly even before 563 when Columba came. Now I'm just showing St. Martin's cross here because they actually reckon it's one of the oldest high crosses, certainly over 1200 years old. Iona in particular used a lot of imagery of the mother and child, and on this cross they think there are some images that are actually taken from the same source as a very similar picture in the Book of Kells. Now I just want to talk about something that's sort of very practical about Iona and its faith community today. In 1938, the Reverend George MacLeod founded the Iona community, and the idea of this was it was different traditions of Christianity that came together through work and worship for the benefit of everyone, and still today it attracts people from all over the world, and it's a very active part of the community here today. What I just can't overemphasize here is just sort of when you hear how this place actually fits into its physical environment and the community, it's very different here, very different. This is the communal living side, and they're trying to weatherproof it at the moment, so let's keep this magnificent structure here for a lot longer. Just looking at the lovely cloisters here, absolutely wonderful. Now there is a tradition here of Iona of it being known as a thin place, and this relates actually to a story my mum told me about a member of the Iona community that came to visit their church. And the idea is that it's a place where the veil between heaven and earth is a lot thinner than other places, and Iona for many does represent that. Particularly prevalent as well in pre-Christian Irish tradition, and yeah, when you come here you can certainly feel that. Just one thing from me though, I actually heard of St. Columba when I was about 7, and it was through reading a book about the Loch Ness Monster. And what had happened was St. Columba was journeying to see a northern Pictish king, whereupon he came across the Loch Ness Monster trying to attack a man who was swimming. Now, what Columba did was confronted the creature and invoked the word of God, and whereupon the creature was banished. And I always just thought this was amazing that the word of God could do that to something like the Loch Ness Monster. I know it's a strange thing to say, but it really sort of enchanted me to this whole idea of St. Columba. So to be here now, 40 years on, is amazing. Well, Thank you very much for coming with me to Iona and having a bit of an explore about its spiritual side. It's certainly been an incredible visit that I won't forget.